Well, hello, this is Mikey Maltisanti, and this is a quick tutorial on how to start a game and really get into Crusader Kings 3. Now, when I first began playing this game, I was super overwhelmed with all the different aspects, different functionalities, different modes, different features throughout the game. It was super complicated for a complete newbie, so of course, you should always play the tutorial when you first begin this game. It really takes you through some simple basics, so I would highly recommend going through the tutorial. You can start a new game, obviously, and the tutorial is right here on the top right hand side. And this is the first screen that you enter. Which opens up when you press new game, and this is the kind of recommended start for newbies. As you can see, these are preset campaigns in the year 1066 AD. You've got the Irish petty king Murchad, Duke Vratislav of Bohemia, you got Duchess Matilda of Tuscany, you've got Duke Robert of Apulia, and you got Emir Yahya of Toledo. And of course, I've played this one. This is the one I actually started with just to try out the game and its features after the tutorial. I would recommend playing that if you really want to start in an isolated island kind of setting. However, this tutorial is not about going through the tutorial again or through an easy mode campaign. This is about the different features of the game and really what to expect when you begin a game. So here you see this is 1066 AD, Rags to Riches, and there's a couple of campaigns here that you can play. There is 1066, the Iberian Peninsula, which is essentially, I believe this is Portugal and Spain, and here you have a number of also preset campaigns you can play. You've got the English 1066 AD, which kind of splits England, Scotland, Normandy, the Vikings or Norwegians and the Danish civilizations, essentially. So these are the 1066 preset campaigns. There are also 867 campaigns. So you begin earlier in the game. Now these campaigns, you begin with earlier technologies. For example, here you've got the Vikings raiding the British coasts. And this is really where I like to start the game, because you really begin at the start in terms of technologies, in terms of builds, in terms of development of the map. And I think I would suggest, if you're a noob like I would begin at 867 and kind of go through from the start to the finish and, work my way up to 1066 and beyond. So you can select one of these preset campaigns if you wish. And I'm playing Dorama Dara. I just started a campaign with this African queen or countess. Now there's a number of different campaigns you can play in 867 that are preset. These seem interesting. There's a bunch of brothers that have split the French and German states into different fiefdoms. However, if you really want to customize, if you really want to go delve deeply into Crusader Kings 3, I would go to the bottom left hand side corner and play as any ruler in 867. You press this button, it takes you to a new screen. This screen is a little overwhelming when you first start. It's a huge map, as you can see. You've got a huge number of holdings and empires and counties and states. So how to begin? What are you looking at right now? I just want to take you through this because I was slightly confused when I first began. So here you have, if you look at the bottom right hand side of the map, okay, you have the different views of the map that you can select. And this is super, super helpful and super important when you play and even before you play. So this first default setting, and the control for that is E, and you can get to this to go to E. All right. This is the realm screen. This is where you see each leader and what they own, essentially what they hold. However, what complicates this even further is that within each of these, or within a lot of these at least, especially the larger ones, there are a number of other leaders that you can play as, and a number of other realms that are smaller in size. So this is kind of the empire size screen. Some of these may not be empire size, or they may be duchy sizes, or they may be kingdom size, or they may even be county sizes. I haven't looked through all of them. However, especially the larger ones, these guys are basically the kind of the Mongolians, Khazarias, that went through Eastern Europe and Russia, and the Turkish areas. So for this realm, for example, if you this is one empire, right? And if you basically get to the empire level screen, you can see that, hey, this is the empire. It is owned by Kagan Manasseh of Khazaria, and he has a number of vassals within the empire represented by these smaller emblems. Now, the larger the emblem, or the flag, the more important that vassal is. So they all pay taxes. They all give him levies and soldiers to fight, and they all answer to him at the end of the day. So I wouldn't start on this level. I wouldn't start playing as an empire, especially if you're a beginner. I would start playing as a smaller vassal. So for example, this guy is a high chief, and you can go to these. So you can go to these different levels by clicking on their emblems, right? So you click on this emblem, you go to this leader. So each leader, you can access each leader by going to their emblems. So on this level here, we see this is the empire kind of level. There are kingdoms, so there are basically the levels of how each realm is, the hierarchy essentially of each realm is, the highest is an empire level. Under an empire level, which is this level, is the kingdom level, right? Which is a smaller level. And within kingdoms, there are a number of duchies, and within the duchy level, there are a number of counties. And county level is really the smallest kind of realm you can hold, smallest kind of holding you can play as, and I would start at that level, the county level. So here we see, we're still in the realm representation of the map, and basically this representation tells you, it just shows you each leader and what they hold. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. This is the most important screen that you'll use in the game, or the most important view you'll use in the game. So here we see this guy here, he has a bunch of vassals. You see they have smaller vassals. So these smaller vassals are actually county rank realms. So they hold counties. They don't have duchies or kingdoms. So they are represented by smaller flags. You see bigger vassals. So this is a duchy rank realm vassal. So he owns a bigger piece of land. You see this guy, he owns only counties. He doesn't hold a duchy title. He may hold 2 counties, correct? So he holds county level ranks, multiple ones, but he does not have the duchy level title that this guy has. So this guy has united High Chieftain Ertekin, whatever his name is. He's united 4 different counties into their duchy kind of rank. So here we see, this is the divide. I don't know if there are kingdom levels in this empire. I don't believe so. Maybe this guy. No, this is a separate. Okay, there we go. So, but this is a different realm, as we can see. So this is a kingdom rank realm over here, Grand Prince Almo of the Mogier Confederation. So this is a kingdom, not an empire. And as we go down, we can see he has 1 county vassal, and the rest are held by him, the king. And we can tell this because when we click on the 1 flag, we see the county border, or at least the holding border. This is 1 county, right? And if we click on the larger flag, we see this is everything that falls under his kingdom. There's also this one here, actually, which is also another county, Odessa, owned by a different person. So I would start at this kind of level if you're really beginning to play. This seems like an interesting guy to play, actually. He's got no heir, so you have to get married, have a child, so you can carry on your dynasty, right? So this is kind of the overview map, right? This is the realm. Now, the aim of the game is not just to play as one leader. It is to build a dynasty. It is to build, you begin with one leader, you may get married, you have children, you build a dynasty, you die, you have an heir. And then your dynasty splits, for example. So each heir gets a different piece of the land that you created. They become independent rulers. Now, as your dynasty expands and your rulers become independent, and even the ones that you don't control that fall within your dynasty grows in stature and in glory, and you actually gain benefits and bonuses and dynasty points for that. So the larger your dynasty, and you'll be able to tell which dynasty is which inside the game. So that is kind of the goal of the game, is to have a huge and successful dynasty and build a really successful dynasty. And within each dynasty, there are houses, right? So you will have your house, you'll have different houses come out of your house as they get larger and larger, but they all fall within this larger dynasty. I know this is overwhelming, etc. So I'm just trying to give you kind of the overview because I didn't know any of this when I first started the game. And I had to kind of like understand. It took a while to really get my bearings around it. So let's see. So I've played a number of campaigns. I've played in Africa. I'm playing one now. I've played in the Middle East, and the last one I played is actually in China. So I built a Chinese dynasty. So you can play as the Indians, you can play as the Russians, you can play as the Mongolians, you can play as Serbians, you can play as Scandinavians, you can play as Byzantines, which are basically essentially Greek, Bulgarians. There's a number of this is what makes the game really fun, is that you can really customize it, and it's really a role-playing game here. You play as whatever you want, and you have your own objectives that you could meet or could not meet, or you can change them as you go through the game. So let me get some water. So this is getting, speaking to a microphone gets tiring. So let's see here. Let's see. So this is the realm. This is the realm screen, and this is the most important screen. You see the rulers broken up by each of their realms. And for example, this is the Abbasid Empire. You've got the Caliph, and this is his empire. And as you scroll down, you see the smaller holdings within his empire. So this is his flag, the largest flag. He's got the Armenian Principality. So this is actually a better empire to kind of show you all the different levels, right? So you got the empire level here. You got the Armenian Principalities, which is a kingdom rank realm. And within the Armenian Principalities, you have the duchy rank realms, as you can see. So these duchies are a little bit larger, right? I don't know why I cannot click on this for the life of me. Okay, so this guy's an independent guy, so I'm clicking on the wrong one. However, so we go Armenian Principalities, and we have this guy here. This guy has a county. It's a sheikdom, and this. So even the titles here are different depending on which empire you play under. So this guy here, you see, he's a kingdom level within an empire. This is a duchy level ruler that he has under him. Now the interesting thing about this duchy level is he actually only has a county. So he has one county, but he holds the title of the duchy. The other counties are probably held by this guy. So he gave him the duchy to hold the title, but he actually only owns one county within the duchy. And then you have this guy who's actually just a county holder. You see these lines here. So this line shows with these small arrows, they go into this capital here of the king, and these lines represent that this guy is a liege or is a vassal of this guy, and this guy is his vassal. And then you see this line coming out of the king's capital, and it goes to the capital of the emperor or the caliph. And the caliph or khalif in Arabic is he is their ultimate legion. He doesn't have arrows coming out of him to any other leader, because he's the top tier level leader here. So here you have the empire level, you have the kingdom level, you have the duchy level, and you have the county level. And then you can go within this empire here, and you see these are all actually duchy levels. You see they have these silver little crowns on them, and then you see these smaller county levels. So I would start playing with an interesting kind of backstory county level, because it's just easier, much easier to manage, especially when you first start. If you play as someone like this and expand, it's just much easier. So this guy doesn't have, sometimes, so counties they fall within duchies. So usually you may have a county that directly answers to a duchy, directly belongs to a duchy, and then the duchy belongs to a king, and the king belongs to the empire. But sometimes the relationship is actually straight from county to the emperor, because the duchy title and the kingdom title has not been created. Now you may have the county, and no one holds enough counties to create a duchy, so there is no guy between, no leader or liege between the county level and the empire level. And this is something that you'll encounter as you go through. These are details that I'm just kind of giving you to fill in the details. Now this is the realm map that we've been going through. Now if you go, so these realm maps, essentially they tell you the reality, who owns what, right? The current reality of the situation. So if you go back on the empire level, you see that this is the reality of the Abbasid Empire, the Abbasian Empire. However, there are maps that show you the legal titles that could be obtained, and these are called de jure. I'm not sure if you pronounce this de jure or de jure. Probably a French word or something, but anyway. Here you see on the bottom right hand side of the screen, you see the views for the different levels of legal titles that can be held. You don't see county level because that's the smallest, but here you see, for example, this is the legal. So we are actually, this is, as you see, the white outline is what the current Abbasid Empire looks like. However, legally, these fall within this empire. These lands in green that are outside the borders, the current borders, they fall within this empire. So at one stage, the Abbasid Empire was that size, and these were all vassals of the empire. It has shrunk in size by this time. However, as you see, they've expanded into another empire, the Persian Empire, right? Or the Byzantine Empire even. They hold the Armenian section of the Byzantine Empire. So the reality does not have to match the legal titles. Now you can always aim to recreate these legal titles. For example, no one in this game at this time, because I've played this, holds the title of the Persian Empire. However, if you, for example, play as any of these and you take over the majority or a specific number, preset number of counties within the Persian Empire, you can actually recreate the Persian Empire, you can create the title again, and you can hold the title as the Persian Emperor. So that is the distinction that you should just kind of keep in mind between the de jure or the legal titles and the current reality of the situation here, So as you see, there's the empire level. Then you can see the legal titles in terms of the kingdom level, right? So these are kingdoms within the empire. So these are kingdoms within the Persian Empire, as you see, and they map out perfectly within, they map out perfectly. Each kingdom falls neatly within the empire, as you can see. So you see Jazeera, Daylam, Mesopotamia, Persia, Safarid, they're all falling within the Persian Empire. So legal titles are very neat within each other. They fall neatly within each other, right? Now you can create your own empire titles, right, which differ from these empires by having a certain number of duchies and counties and prestige and money, etc., which may or may not overlap with these kind of holdings. That's something to discuss later. So that's a brief overview of this map when you first start. This is a brief overview of this map. Now, So these are the first four top views that we can go through, right? And you can use just these Shift Q, Shift W, Shift E. E for Empire, W, I don't know what W is, but Q for Duchy, and if you just click E, it takes you to the realm map. So these are handy shortcuts to know. There are other useful views as well. So you can see the map divided up by faiths. Now these are not the faiths of the leaders. These are not the faiths of the people that lead these areas, but it is the faith of a population. And then you can also divide the map up by culture. You can see these are Persians, these are Mashrikis, these are Kurds, the Elamites, Tajiks, etc., Afghans, Greek, Armenian, Georgians, Bulgarian. And you can see here the faiths. Catholic, for example. You have a huge Catholic world. You have the Orthodox, Ashari, Ibadi. These are all different sects of Islam. These are sects of Christianity. And then you have these different unreformed, kind of polytheistic old religions. So the Finns and you have the Vikings religions, etc., etc. The houses is also an interesting view. So which house owns what? And this really overlaps a lot with the realms, right? Because the realms map is divided based on who owns what, and most of the time the holdings match the name of the house. However, sometimes they match the names of the dynasties or an older house, etc., etc. So that's another interesting view. You can also use, I use the development map a lot, so you can see which county is at what point of development. So the more a county is developed, the lighter its color. So for example, Cairo, you can tell it's well developed because it's yellow, but these purple colors are not very well developed. They're very primitive places, which with very poor economies. And you can develop these places as you own them over time. Terrain, I don't usually use much, but it's interesting to see here. And this is the county map. If you really want to see a breakdown of the counties, this is a cool map just to look at, I guess, and to see what counties where. So if you really want to, I would prefer that you start as a county level. I start on a county level, which is just easier for a beginner, and it's actually more fun, to be honest. You kind of start from the bottom, and start from the bottom. Now here we build up our kind of empire step by step, and you see as you can click them, you can go into each county one by one. I like the realm map because you can really zoom in, zoom out, go into the county levels, and just click on the emblem or the flag and kind of see who holds what. You click on a flag and you see smaller counties within it. So this is a good way to start the game. Okay, so this is the short explanation of the map. The next video will be about how to select a good leader or a good holder of realms to really begin as a noob. All right, bye-bye.